It is an honor to bring on one of our favorites now for the first time here on Tim and Sid.
Yeah.
Fox Sports baseball god, Jon Morosi joining us. Mr. Morosi, how you doing?
Congratulations, guys, on the show. Glad to be here on day 2.
All right, first things first, the Toronto Blue Jays, everyone's screaming for Alex Anthopoulos to do something. Today he did something. The kid's 16 years old. It might not be in the majors for a very long time, but it's a name everyone knows very well. JP, update Jays fans. What happened today?
Yes, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is now a Blue Jay. So Vlad Sr., a very proud father here. His son has signed the second largest entry contract by signing bonus in Blue Jays history at $3.9 million, of course, from the Dominican Republic. It'll probably take him a number of years, of course, to get to the major leagues. But the Blue Jays are very excited because, much like his dad, he hits just about everything in sight, and he hits it pretty far. So it's very rare, especially for a 16-year-old player, guys, to have somebody that has this type of power, but also this type of contact as well. So the Jays had to move some money around. In fact, traded a couple prospects from their Class A club in Lansing, Michigan, to get some additional signing bonus pool money to afford this signing. So they really are going all in for Vlad Jr., and obviously he is now the centerpiece of their young position player crop in the minor leagues.
JP, you mentioned rare a couple of times in that. What's also rare is seeing an international player on the table and watching the Jays actually pull the trigger and beat a lot of people out. From what you're hearing, how many teams wanted in on this kid?
Well, he was among the best, Sid. I mean, he was one of the best young prospects in all the international baseball circles. This was a guy that everybody was talking about. So it's interesting because I asked the question, well, did the fact that, of course, Alex Anthopoulos worked for the Expos younger in his career, was there a relationship there with Vlad that helped this happen? And I was told no, that really this was just a great job by the Jays Dominican Republic staff. And obviously it was Vlad Jr.'s uncle, Wilton Guerrero, who actually was the agent here, who acted as the agent, his representative. So Vlad Sr. really was not involved here. This was really Wilton Guerrero taking care of the negotiation. But I think obviously it was a situation where we know how Vlad feels about Canada. And you can see in the picture that Vlad Sr. tweeted out, he was already wearing the Jays hat. So I think it's a very cool story there, of Guerrero coming back to Canada. And obviously Vlad, you can just see in the picture he tweeted out, a very proud father here today.
Speaking of Jays moves, some names being bandied about both on who they might have to give up and who they might be looking for. Have you heard any of these names?
Well, I think certainly I want to point out one name, guys, that has already come to the forefront again, just like last year. Jeff Samardzija. He's with a different team now. He's, of course, with the White Sox now and not the Cubs. The Jays were scouting him a lot last year in the month of July. Didn't end up making that deal. But now, of course, the White Sox are last in the American League Central. It certainly looks as though they are going to be sellers right now. And we know the Jays have liked his stuff in the past. I think his stuff would play well at Rogers Center because, of course, you get a lot of strikeouts, and that keeps the ball out of the air in that ballpark, which obviously is at a premium. Yeah. So I think he's going to be a guy the Jays look at very closely this month. But I will tell you, there's not a whole lot of guys out there that we would say are available today from a starting pitching standpoint. I think Cole Hamels, probably unlikely he would approve a trade to Toronto. And the Reds guys, Johnny Cueto and Mike Leake, not quite available yet. I think their ownership wants to get through the All-Star game, which, of course, is in Cincinnati. They'd prefer to not trade Cueto until after that time comes around. So I do think the Jays will be players for either Cueto, perhaps, and or Leake after the All-Star game, but I think that's going to have to wait for another week or so.